Israel has blown up thousands of pagers and walkie-talkies used by Hezbollah operatives, killing and maiming members of the terrorist organization. Israel has weaponized everyday gadgets and struck back at its enemies. But there's panic in the aviation industry. Qatar Airways has prohibited passengers from carrying pagers and walkie-talkies on its flights while boarding flights from Lebanon. The greater fear, of course, is what if terrorists start using the same playbook? And how does this 9/11 of counter-terrorist operations affect airline security and the millions of passengers who fly each day? Joining me to discuss this are Captain S Panesar, former Director of Flight Safety and Training, Indian Airlines; Sanjay Lazar, Aviation Expert and CEO, Avialas Consultants; Major General Datta, Defense and Counter-Terrorism Expert; and in the studio is my colleague Deepak Bhadana. Gentlemen, welcome to the News9 Plus show. Captain Panesar, I want to start by asking you this, that Hezbollah might have been the target for Israel's counter-terrorist operation, but the ripples are being felt across the civil aviation world, which is very sensitive to these kind of developments. And after every such attack or terror incident, we've seen an increase in airline security. Qatar Airways, for instance, they've banned pagers and walkie-talkies. Is there a fear that there would be other airlines that will now follow suit and start looking at possibly pagers, walkie-talkies, and who knows what else with a great deal of suspicion?
Before I say anything, my apologies and to the people who died in the blast of the pager. But let me tell you, in our country, in India, not many people are using pagers.
Right.
Only walkie-talkie the staff is carrying at the airport.
Yes.
They sometimes come with the walkie-talkie in the aircraft.
Right.
Regarding use of mobile, I think it is not wise to stop the mobile use on board the aircraft, because once a person buys a ticket, you can take down his mobile number, his address, he can take his signature, then you know who's using the mobile.
Right.
But in India, I don't find many people using pagers.
Right.
Yes, walkie-talkie is being used by the airport staff when they're conducting the flights.
Yes.
The staff sometimes goes into the aircraft, they come out, and they're all registered. They don't carry pagers.
Right, of course.
And I think it is not wise to stop people carrying mobile. Mobile should be allowed. But the idea of a person who is carrying mobile, you can take it in writing from a person.
Yes.
Once I buy a ticket, I give my mobile number, I give my address, I give my signature.
Right.
My ID is known to everybody.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Sanjay, I want to thank you, Captain Panesar. I'm going to ask Sanjay Lazar this. Sanjay, some time back, airlines had banned passengers from carrying lithium-ion chargers in the checked-in baggage. And that was because of a real fear of these exploding mid-flight. And in this case, lithium-ion cells have, from what we hear, have been targeted. They've exploded, killing a lot of, literally thousands of people, hundreds of people, if not, wounding thousands more. Is there a fear that airlines will now impose a fresh set of restrictions on gadgets carried by passengers when they board airlines?
Thank you for having me, Sandeep. First point is, on the aspect of pagers alone, like Captain Panesar said, pagers are no longer used in India unless it's hospitals. So they're used in closed circuit areas.
Right.
Now, I'm certain that the DGCA will look at even banning the carriage maybe, or restricting the carriage of those pagers or not.
Right.
Point number two, you spoke of lithium-ion batteries.
Yes.
I do not know if you recall, some years ago, about 6 years ago, there was a ban on carriage of Samsung Galaxy phones.
Yes.
Certain number of Samsung Galaxy, which was first found burning in an ANA aircraft, Japanese airline.
Yes.
And after that, it happened Philippines, it happened 4 or 5 places.
Right.
It was banned across the world.
Yes.
Today, there are restrictions on us carrying power banks and stuff like that in the checked-in luggage.
Yes.
Right? You have to carry it in the hand luggage. So
Yes.
if there is an imminent explosion, you can track it. There's also, let me point this out, there's also a 2004 air safety circular of the Indian DGCA prohibiting the carriage of walkie-talkies,
Yes.
which also exploded in this. So I do believe there will be some concern in the DGCA. They will look at it, but I mean, banning mobile phones is crazy. It's not going to happen. But I do see, unless, there is a particular type of phone that we see is explosive.
Right.
But pictures, yes, will come under scrutiny. And I can see a lot of these other devices will probably have to be carried with batteries separate or no batteries or something like that.
Right.
I can see that.
But you're sure that these kind of some kind of restrictions will start to kick in the next couple of days?
Sandeep, India is let me just say this, after the Kanishka and the various the hijack we've had in the last 30, 40 years, India is far ahead of most of the world in counter surveillance for aviation. The reason being, we are a nation with so many conflagrations.
Yes.
You have terrorism in Kashmir, you have in the Punjab, you have in the Northeast, you have militancy everywhere.
Yes.
So there's always that risk. So I think, and to their credit, the BCAS and the DGCA and the MOCA, the government of India, have kept quite a tight, stranglehold on security. It's tedious, it's cumbersome, but it works so far.
It's tedious and it's cumbersome, and thanks for giving me that heads up, Sanjay. I'm catching an international flight tomorrow. I'll probably take precautions to check in a little early on. But General Datta, you're a counter-terrorism expert. You've been with several elite organizations in India, and we spoke a few days back when these pagers started exploding. While Israel has done the right thing, possibly people can argue, by striking back at its enemies before they could target Israel, how credible is this fear that terrorists could now take inspiration from these attacks and try and similar, attacks on airlines or public spaces of the kind that we saw in 9/11? Could terrorists borrow from this playbook?
Sandeep, if you see at the international level, wherever there has been an explosion in an aircraft, wherever there has been a suicide attack, especially concerning the aircraft, you got two methods of doing it. Either you have a baggage which has been laced with explosives, fixed with a timer, and which explodes on a particular time frame, and then either the plane goes down, like the Kanishka, what happened over Canada, Air India flight. So now the thing is that over the years, a lot of precautions have been taken by people. The X-ray machines have come into place. You cannot now hide an explosive with a detonator and a battery, let it go through and get checked into the baggage. That much expertise has been gained as far as India is concerned in a big way. Now the only thing is that if you ask me a question, can somebody smuggle in a explosive? I will say yes. Why I'm saying yes? Because I'm an expert in this field. I know how one can do it, how one can maybe gather smaller quantities being carried by number of people and then come inside the aircraft and assemble it together and make it a bigger device. So therefore the thing is that as far as the pagers are concerned, or the mobile phones are concerned, or the lithium batteries are concerned, lithium batteries get heated up by a process called the runaway. Runaway process in which either very fast charging or very fast discharge or a heavy load on the memory being put on by maybe a malware. And then it will start heating up, and then it may catch fire or may explode depending on the quality of the battery. But if you have to use an explosive, which most likely has been done in the case of Lebanon, in that you have to have a battery fitted with the explosive, maybe half battery, half explosive, whether it is plastic explosive or C4 sheet explosive, and then you require a detonator connected to a chip which works as a trigger based on a signal generated on the device. The chip will get the connection together and the detonator will explode and the device will cause injury or death. So this is the technique of exploding in a high explosive and lithium battery getting overheated and then either getting fired or exploding. But a lithium battery by itself, if it is not exploding, if it is not a charge or an additional what you call a high explosive, then the damage is very marginal. It could be a fire which can be immediately put out by a fire extinguisher, or the device can be thrown into a water pan or something. So now the thing is that high explosives can only get exploded by a detonation wave. For that you need a detonator. Therefore you need an electric detonator which is small enough concealed in the circuit of the system, connected to a battery, put with a chip which works as a trigger, and a signal comes as a coded signal will activate the chip and this device will go off. So what has happened in Lebanon is this technology which I'm just talking about. It is a battery laced with explosive, with a detonator and a chip inserted which acts as a trigger, and then the trigger is generated by a coded signal, and all these pages explode simultaneously.
Right, absolutely.
So,
and like you said, General Datta, there's always a danger that terrorists could also be inspired by this modus operandi. Of course, we're not giving anyone any ideas on what to do, but this is exactly how it works. I mean, these kind of copybook attacks could possibly take place. And of course, where is this going to be tried out, if not in the civil aviation sector, which has borne the brunt of it? And Deepak, you're fully aware of the fact that Sanjay lost his entire family in the Kanishka bombing, but who else better than Sanjay to tell us about the airline, how the airline industry is so vulnerable to bombings. But Deepak, you know, every time there's an incident like this, attacks, sensational attacks, it's the passengers that bear the brunt of this, apart from the loss of life that's taken place. And you've seen it in 9/11, where a whole range of new checking and physical frisking and electronic devices kicked in because of those very unprecedented hijackings. Do you see a new cottage industry, or well, let's put it this way, a new ecosystem of detecting explosives now developing around these very legitimate fears?
Well, most definitely. I mean, and it's necessary, of course, it's understandable. So security procedures and protocols are going to become more complex and invasive even.
Right.
But it's necessary. There's hardly any other option that there is.
Right.
And unless we have devices which can accurately detect such sort of tampering or such sort of devices, it's going to be a little problematic for the passengers, but then again, there's hardly anything that anyone can do about it.
Right, absolutely. A new ecosystem of counter-terrorism products possibly coming in, and for explosive
so
detectors.
It's like an arms race between, say, detection and innovation.
Arms race between detection and innovation. I'll ask Sanjay Lazar this question that you've raised. Sanjay, you see this point that Deepak made, this arms race between innovation and detection now taking place. The fact that if lithium-ion cells could be weaponized by terrorists, then you're looking at a very, very clear and present danger to airlines and passenger safety. Do you see new technologies coming in, like say explosive vapor detectors, bomb detection devices to keep our skies safe?
Excellent point by Deepak there, Sandeep. I must, say this, that, whilst you were talking, it struck me that we've moved in the mobile phone area from a time when we used to open the phone and, we had a removable battery.
Right.
Phones now having sealed batteries.
Yes.
But it just set my mind thinking that all those removable batteries could be weaponized so easily by the same PET or plastic or C4 or whatever they used in Lebanon, and creating some sort of device like the general correctly pointed out. And it's scary. It's scary to think that the arms race is ahead of the detection race, and we'll have to be on our toes in aviation, in factories, in offices, government buildings, sensitive installations. Somebody with a innocuous mobile phone could just walk in and become a bomb themselves. So it's a really, really scary time, and security needs to be up its game, multifold.
Absolutely. As they say, Sanjay, the terrorist has to get lucky only once, and the counter-terrorist experts have to be lucky every single time. Captain Panesar, you had a point before we close.
Yeah, I would like to tell you, for the world traveler, that India is the most safest country for travel. We even start checking people half a mile before you enter the airport area.
Yes.
And then our security is also very tight.
Right.
And they check everything. And I think carrying pages, there's no people carrying any pages these days.
Right.
Carrying mobile, most of the airlines, they permit you to use the mobile on board the aircraft by charging some. Mobile, you can, once you do it, you buy a ticket, you give your ID, you give your mobile number, so the identification of persons are there.
Yes.
But pages are no more used in India. I am not aware of anybody
Yes,
using
yes,
pages.
absolutely. No, we're just looking at the possibilities, Captain Panesar. The fact that if pagers and walkie-talkies could be laced with explosives, surely the terrorists are thinking of all of these themselves. And as Sanjay pointed out, today's sealed batteries in cell phones could well be the next terror strike. But fortunately, as of now, the Indian airline passenger only has to fear bad seats and lousy airline food, and none of these threats that we've been pointing out. But who knows about the future? As we've just discussed, you've heard it from the best and the brightest in the field that the law enforcement agencies have to keep a step ahead of this threat that the terrorists could always pick up these kind of innovations and put them into practice. As Deepak just pointed out, it's like a literal arms race between the innovators and the implementers. But thank you very much for joining us this evening, gentlemen. Sanjay Lazar, Major General Datta, Captain Panesar, and my colleague Deepak Bhadana.
Thank you.